all, welcome you all to Jenny's Commerce Land. Today we are going to see an accounts question number 84, that is from chapter 8 of part B. So the question is again based on pro rata allotment, and it says XYZ Limited invited applicants for issuing 50,000 equity shares of 10 rupees each. The amount was payable as an application rupees 3 per share, on allotment rupees 4 per share, on first and final call rupees 3 per share. The applications were received for 75,000 shares and pro rata allotment was made as the applicants for 40,000 were allotted 30,000 shares. Applicants for 35,000 were allotted 30,000 shares. Ramu, to whom 1,200 shares were allotted out of the group applying for 40,000 shares, failed to pay the allotment money. His shares were forfeited immediately after allotment. Shamu, who applied for 700 shares out of the group applying for 35,000 shares, failed to pay the first and the final call. His shares were also forfeited. Out of the forfeited shares, 1,000 shares were reissued at applicants for 40,000 shares. For 40,000 shares were allotted 30,000 shares on pro rata basis. 8 per share was fully paid. The reissued shares included all the forfeited shares of Sham. Pass necessary journal entries to record the above transaction. So, as mentioned, the question is again on the pro rata basis. And now we're going to see how and what kind of journal entry can help us out. So I'm sharing the screen. So as we see here, I've jotted down the solution. First of all, the applied is 40,000. Allotment made as applied 40,000. They got 30,000. 35,000 they got again 30,000. And whoever had applied for the 1,800 that were allotted 1,000 shares. On the application, we had to pay 3 per share. On allotment, rupees 4 per share. On first call and the final call, rupees 3 per share. And the total called up amount was rupees 10. Now, the first journal entry is bank account debit to equity share capital application account. So 75,000 applications were coming, and 75,000 into 3, that will give you a 2,25,000. Next is equity share application account debit 2,25,000 to equity share capital, that is 50,000 into 3, that gives you 1,50,000. And the consent advance of 15,000 shares, that gives you again 75,000 per as the price is 3 per share, being the application money of 50,000 shares transferred to the share capital account and excess money is adjusted in the allotment account. Next is the equity share allotment account. So now we got the application amount, and now we have come up with the allotment time. So for allotment, it is 4 per share. So 50,000 into 4, that gives you 2 lakh. To equity share capital account, we have to credit 2 lakh. So equity share allotment account debit to equity share capital account 2 lakh, being equity share allotment due on 50,000 shares at rupees 4 per share. Next is the bank, that is the allotment money received. Okay, first of all, we passed it for the allotment due. Then now we are passing it for the allotment money received. So bank account debit to equity share allotment account. So over here we see that only 48,800 were received because Ramu has failed to pay his amount. So we will debit 1,21,400 into to equity share allotment account, that is 1,21,400. So the calculation is 48,800 into 4. So how much did he fail to pay? 1,000 200. So 50,000 minus 1,000. Yeah. So from the allotment due was 50,000, and from that he failed to pay 1,200, which amounts to 48,800, and the price is rupees 4 per share. So therefore 48,000 into 800 will give you 1,21,400. So the bank account is debited and the equity share allotment account is credited. Now the equity share capital account. How much is there now in the equity share capital account? 1,200. What is that 1,200? 1,200 shares. Ramu, who was failed to pay for 1,200 shares. Therefore, we are taking the calculation over here as 1,200 debit, that is equity share capital account debit, to equity share forfeiture account and to the equity share allotment account. So 1,200 into 7. Now, what is the 7? It is the application and the allotment account. That is 4 plus 3, 7. 1,200 into 7, that will give you 8,400. And to the forfeiture, we'll transfer 4,800 because he failed to pay the amount for how many? 7 out of rupees 7 was forfeited. Per share was forfeited. So 1,200 into 7 will give you 8,400, and the forfeiture amount is 4,800, and the equity share allotment amount is 3,600, being 1,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each, that is rupees 7 called up forfeited for the non-payment of allotment. For here, application plus amount allotment, that is 4 plus 3 is the 7 called up which he failed to pay, that is being forfeited. Next is the equity share. I'll just put it down. Okay. The equity share. Yeah. So now it is time for the first call and the final call. The equity share first call and final call account debit 1,46,400. That is 48,800 into 3. 3 is the price per share in the first and the final call. So equity share first call and the final call account debit 1,46,400 to equity share capital account, that is 1,46,400. That is the amount due on the first call and the final call, and the amount is due on 48,800 shares at rupees 3 per share. Next is the bank account debit to equity share first and the final call account. Now over here being the amount received. So again there is somebody who fails to pay the amount, right? So over here what happens? Who fails to pay the amount during the first call? Mr. Shamu fails to pay the amount during first call. So over here for calculation purpose, 48,800 minus 700. 48,100. So 48,100 into 3 is nothing but how much? 1,45,200. So let's calculate once and let's see, is it correct? So over here 48,800 shares were due, but Shamu, who had failed to pay, for 700. Therefore, the amount of the shares is reduced to 48,100 into 3. That will give you the amount. So now how much is the amount received? 1,45,200. 200. So the amount received for the first and the final call is nothing but 1,45,200. Now let's go to the next one. Equity share capital account. Again, there are 400 shares which were forfeited for the non-payment, because out of that some shares were paid. So therefore it is 400 shares that were forfeited. So 400 into 7, that will give you 2,800, and the equity share capital will be debited with 4,000 to the equity share forfeiture account. It will be 2,800, and next to the equity share final share first and the final call account 1,200, being 400 shares forfeited for the non-payment of first and final call. Next is the entry for the forfeiture or the reissued. So bank account debit 8,000, because it is mentioned in the question that 1,000 shares were reissued at 8 per share. So therefore 1,000 into 8 is debited into the bank account, and the forfeiture amount is how much? 2,000 to equity share capital account 10,000. So being 1,000 equity shares reissued at rupees 8 shares as fully paid. Next is equity share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve, being the balance of 1,000 reissued shares in the share forfeiture account transferred to capital reserve account. So the amount for that is 1,000, 3,000 and 200. So what is the forfeiture part? Rupees 2 is been now forfeited. Out of 10, we have reissued at 8 per share, and the rest amount is what is being left over, and therefore we get an amount of 3,200 over here. Now let's see the calculation for Ramu's share. He had applied for 40,000, he got 30,000, and the allotted was 1,200. So therefore he was given 1,600 shares. Money received on application was 4,800. That is 1,600 into 3. And now the money adjusted on application is 1,200 into 3, because he failed to pay for about some shares. So out of 1,600, money adjusted was for on application was 1,200 into 3, that is 3,600, and now the excess application was 1,200, that is 44,800 minus 3,600. Now the allotment due was 1,200 into 4. 1,200 into 4, that is the amount. Now over there we get 4,800, and the excess money on application was again 1,200. So we minus the allotment due 4,800 minus 1,200, and the calls in arrears on allotment is 3,600. Now the share allotment. Share allotment due on 50,000 shares, 2 lakh, less the excess money on the application, that was 75,000, and the calls in arrears on allotment was 3,600. So the money received on allotment was 1,21,400. Now coming to Shamu's part, number of shares applied is equal to application, that is 20,000, divided by allotment, that is 35,000, into 700, that is allotted, equals 400 shares. Now the first and the final call, he comes into picture in the first and the final call. So first and the final call due, that is 48,800 into 3, 1,46,400. And the calls in arrear by Shamu was 400 into 3. That is 1,200. And the money received on first call and final call was 1,46,400 minus 1,200. That is 1,45,200. Now, coming to the calculation of the capital reserve. Shares reissued out of the shares forfeited from Ramu equals 1,000 shares minus Shamu's shares. That is 400. That is 600 shares were reissued. Capital reserve on reissue of 600 shares forfeited by Ramu. 4,800 divided by 100. And the share forfeiture credit is rupees 4 less share forfeiture debit, that is 2. Therefore, the share forfeiture after reissue per share into 600 shares, that is rupees 2 into 600, that is 1,200. Now, from Shamu's share, how much was credited? Rupees 7. And the forfeiture account debit is rupees 2. Therefore, the share forfeiture after reissue at rupees 5. Now, the capital reserve after reissue of 400 is 400 into 5. So, over here it is 400. 400 into 5, that is nothing but 2,000. Now, the total amount of capital reserve equals capital reserve of 600 shares plus capital reserve of 400 shares. That is 1,200 of Ramu plus 2,000. And that's how we get this 3,200. So yes, we have come to the end of the sum. I hope everything is clear and I have tried my best to explain it out to you people. So yes, students, if you still have any doubts or if you want a revision over this part, please do let us know by commenting. And yes, please do subscribe our channel. Come out with more doubts. I will be really happy to help you out with all this. Till we come with a new video, I would like to say you all prepare well for the board exam. All the best.